great restaurants across the U.S., right? And so I felt very judgy because I'm a foodie, and I want to see certain qualities. I want to taste certain things in food. So that's the first part. Then we want to bring you some reviews of food and restaurants, and it's going to be a whole gamut of stuff. So just sit tight, and I'm gonna hand you the mic.
My name is Desiree, but I'm Jezzy. You can call me Jezzy for short. That's my nickname. A little bit about me. I'm a foodie too. I like to eat. I came up in Oakland. I am from Oakland, California, 30 years, born and raised. From there, I moved to Sacramento, then Arizona, now Las Vegas. I'm a little all over the place, and so I've tasted a little of everything. I've experienced a little of this and a little of that. So I'm here to join my sister to talk in and dive in about food and some of our experiences, food for the soul, some of our life experiences. So here we are. I have 2 daughters. They're somewhere, I know they watch it, and I don't have a gamut of things I've been involved in. I have been on my job forever and a day. I'm an expert in disability insurance. So if you ever need help, if you're ever wondering about, your disability and where to go and where to turn, I can help you. I will consult with you for 30 minutes, and then after that, we got to talk about some things. I also I've always wondered what made people tick. So I developed an interest in astrology early on, and I'm interested in spiritual enlightenment and observations and just what makes people tick, what makes the world tick, and just paying attention to my surroundings and what not to pay attention to. And, I will say my love for food started, of course, when you learn how to eat. So that's where my love for food started. But I used to cook when I was young. One of the first meals I ever learned how to cook was lamb chops. Lamb chops of all things. Yeah. Real lamb chops. I don't know what they got in the market these days, but they were readily available back in the day. And when I was in high school, I used to sell sandwiches. I would sell sandwiches. Well, it was for a minute. It was during summer school because I was a bad girl. So I was in and out.
I remember the start of my entrepreneurship. I used to, I would go to church on Sunday and get pocket change from my grandfather, and I would go around the corner to the liquor store and buy a bunch of Now Laters and Alexander the grapes and bring them back to school and sell them. Man. But thank you for that. So what we have going on here is not just food. Y'all know I'm a stand-up comedian now, and I am really testing the waters on my humor, right? Humor brings people together. So we've got a little bit of comedy that will be interjected in the show. We've got some really good information that we will talk about food from health-wise. We'll talk about, we'll always bring a restaurant to the table, right? Because exactly. We're going to be reviewing the food and the restaurants that we have either visited, plan to visit here locally, as well as, globally. So that would be the objective. And then along with good food, good restaurants, some good and bad, we're going to give you some soul food. Right. Because what is food for your body when we're not working on food for our soul? Absolutely. And it's different, right? The food for our soul is more informational. It's elevational. It's let's go to the next level. Because here's what's different about our show than anybody else's. Not just because we're talking about food, right? But it's hard to get to the next place in your life if you don't apply some skills. So this show is going to give you some tools to be able to fast, to change your lifestyle, change your diet, certain places that you just should not be eating at anymore. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
We're going to talk about there's certain foods, no matter what they tell you, you still will patronize that food even though you know it is detrimental to your health, right? Correct. So it's that kind of stuff we're going to be talking about. And so basically, I want to start it off by, I'm going to give my first review. There is a restaurant that I stand very firmly by. They have withstood the pandemic, and they have brought excellent service. So right now I want to talk about a restaurant in Henderson, and it's called Scramble. And these are not promotional things. We're not trying to tell you where to go. These are our express opinions because we've eaten a lot of places. And as a flight attendant for the last 3 years, I would seek, if I'm going to be there any length of time, I'm looking for the best food that city has to offer. I want to go where the locals go. You know, even if that meant down to the bar, honey. We want to know how y'all serving the liquor. So let me ask you, what was your experience for Scramble? Because you actually introduced me to Scramble.
Right. I remember when I was in Henderson, I found looking for a breakfast spot, and actually, I think I just looked it up. I think I Yelped it, as a matter of fact, and looked it up, and then decided we should all meet there for breakfast. So your first time was my first time at the same time when we went, and we were impressed because the place was really new. It was new at the time when we first went. It was about 2 years ago, I believe. They hadn't been open that long.
That's correct.
And so the food was really good. The drinks were really pretty. I think I ordered like some watermelon drink, some seasonal drink that they had. It was pretty good. It was pretty darn good. And I'm the type of person that doesn't necessarily need meat with every meal. And so I ordered the avocado toast, and that was really, really good with potatoes. So, and the service was quick and easy, and it was good. And it was before the pandemic hit. And so that was my first time experiencing it. And I think the next time I went, it wasn't during the pandemic either. The next time that I went, it was just, I went and sat and had breakfast all by myself because the food was so good.
Right. That's our go-to. And it really is a spot that is worth traveling off the strip for, because there's outdoor eating, which I'm a fan of. I am a fan of the people who took advantage of the pandemic and expanded to have some outdoors eating. That's you'll get me to a restaurant real quick with that. They have those mimosa flights, so you get like 5 different flavors mimosas, or you can get the bottle with 2 mixers. What's your pet peeve in a restaurant when you're out eating? And what is your one expectation? If everything else fails, what's your one expectation of a restaurant?
I actually don't care how good the food is. If the customer service, if I'm not greeted at the door or acknowledged upon my entrance to the restaurant, and sat and not acknowledged by the waiter or the waitress, and they just keep walking by. If I'm not acknowledged, customer service, I don't care how good your food is, I won't go back. I will not go back. So that's
your one make or break.
That is my make or break.
That's that one thing. If it's not right, you will get up and make an exit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, no matter how good the food is. I went to a Mexican restaurant out here. I won't name any names right now, but you'll know. I'll tell you about it soon enough. It had rave reviews, so I decided to go. The service was horrible. Horrible. And I was so disturbed, and the lady never acknowledged me. And then when I got to the counter, I was like, oh, I've never been here before. So I made it clear to her that I had never been there before. And she was just like looking at me like a deer in the headlights. And I was like, okay, do you have any recommendations? She was like, no, everything's good. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure. And she was like, well, you figure it out, and then just kind of moved on. And I was like, okay, I get that. But that being so disconnected and not being warm and understanding, if my first visit, I never went back. I absolutely never went back.
I wouldn't go back. So my one pet, there's a real issue for me, and that is people, servers and chefs. So let me backtrack a little bit, because I'm a chef. If there was any reason why I would want to talk about food and why I feel qualified to talk about food and why I am an adamant, I want an experience when I go eat, right? That's why I called us commentators, because we are going to be live commenting on some of the do's and don'ts and the recommendations and different things like that. Being a chef, it drives me nuts when the server comes to your table, and I know we're in this new phase post-pandemic mask, but don't talk over my food.
Right.
Yeah. I know you have to sort things out. You want to make sure everybody gets the right food at the table, but you got to be conscious of this day we're in. When you speak, there's droplets. That is the one way my food's going back to the chef, and he's going to be upset, because I don't need to have a conversation with you when my food arrives. There are a few things that I do expect, the service that comes with the food arrival, but that's my one pet peeve. I'm going to give you an example. We went down to Carson City about 2 weeks ago, and where's Carson City, right? Like, that's what, LA? Well, you don't really hear anybody say, I'm going to Carson City to get some good food when you're in LA. Right. When you down in Southern California.
Yeah, what's in Carson City?
So, I don't know, it's a little bit of everything, I guess. But this particular place, we Yelped. And that was that's going to be one of the bonuses of this show, is that you will be able to actually get live opinion, not just Yelp, right? So this place had a 4.5. And I'm actually going to name the name. It was called Legend Chicken. Now, I'm not a chicken fan, but if you tell me it's Legend, I'm going to show up. It looked good. It looked appealing. We got to be very careful about the things that we're eating. They had a sandwich, a chicken sandwich that had macaroni and cheese on it. Y'all, that's a heart attack. Come on now. Right. Well, Whitney, my daughter, wanted hers on the side. And so accuracy of order is important. So the order was all messed up. They actually served some chicken that wasn't fully cooked. And I'm telling you, in the chef world, you trying to kill me if you serve me some raw chicken. You hear me? Like, you really don't need to be.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
I took it back. I didn't get the type of reception that I should have gotten in terms of, you got the whole bag. You got the whole bag of food. You got everything back, pretty much. So it's not about escaping money or escaping wanting to pay. It was about the customer service. I had to pull out my ID and let her know, look, I'm not even from here. I'm from Las Vegas. So I'm not in this neck of the woods. But then we turned around and went to another place called The Pan. And it was exceptional. And my mother is the judge of food. She will let, if we all sitting on pins and needles because we waiting to see if she's going to enjoy her food, that will determine the success of a restaurant, honey. Is mama's opinion.
Mamas too. Mamas do that. Mamas will steer you and will tell you what's hot and what's not.
So that's pretty much what we will be addressing on the shows. We're going to be talking about different restaurants that we've eaten at, the experience. We're going to talk about the ambiance. We're going to talk about location, details about the experience, because for me, dining out is an experience.
Absolutely.
I want to be wowed.
Absolutely.
Either in your service because you like what you do,
Right.
and chefs generally like to know that people are enjoying their food. That's one of the highlights of doing what we do. Let me tell you something about a chef. A chef will let you know the honesty and character of that individual, because we don't know what you're doing back there when you're preparing our food unless you have an open kitchen, which is my preference.
Right.
So you
Yes.
have to you have
Right.
to trust that if they drop some food, if they're not sanitary, if they're not washing their hands, if they're not changing their gloves. Let me tell you something. I went and took the test, the Safe Serve test, because I want to make sure I stay up to par on my skills. And the questions and answers that they were posing on the test let me know who is in the industry. Because it was questions like, if you drop some food on the floor, what would be your next response? And A would be take a selfie.
Take a
I
seat.
know they lied. They lying, y'all. They lying on that test. So these are the quality
And
of
then put it
people
back
that
on
are,
your plate.
you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of sweating going back there. Kitchens are hot. You need to know that the person who is caring for the one thing that goes in your system, your
Right.
food,
Right.
is doing the right thing. And I'm going to help you out. So
Yes, she is.
I'm going to help you out.
Yes, she is.
One thing I learned in compliance is people generally won't complain,
Right.
because they look at complaining as a bad thing. I look at it as an opportunity.
There you go.
It's an opportunity to share some information, and either you're receptive or you're not.
There you go.
But these are the, hidden treasures people miss out on because they're not receptive for change. Oh, we've always done this. No, not today.
Yeah.
So, what made you, because what we did was we started going to restaurants together, and then we would go to the car, and we might, indulge a little bit just to get our minds right and digest our food, and then we would rate the restaurant. What made you interested in even doing that? Like coming together and us going and eating out like that?
Eating out and reviewing
And
afterwards.
review-
Well, eating out is just something I love to do. Period. I love good food. I love experiencing new restaurants. What made me interested is probably just because I like to eat and I like good customer service. And the other thing is I have an issue with people that when in a restaurant, if it's a really big restaurant, I don't understand why they walk through an entire restaurant with your food uncovered through the entire restaurant. That is a pet peeve of mine as well. So sometimes I will decline eating at a restaurant if I notices it's too big.
Yeah, that's funny, because I think we were out one evening and we watched the server who did not know where the food was going.
Yeah.
And so he walked across the restaurant with that food wide open.
That is
Yeah.
I'd be horrified if that was my plate. If I watched a waiter walk through an entire restaurant and stop at 3 or 4 tables and be like, "Is this your order? Is this your order?" And then all of a sudden come and bring you your food. No, you're going to have to take that back. I know. It's too much going on around and too many germs. And I was like that even before COVID hit.
And that's the thing. We're in a new day now, right? So we're going to bring you fresh information. We're going to talk about seasoning. We're going to talk about, different things that you can do and meals you can make at home,
Right.
right? It's bad enough that we're not getting the quality food in the marketplace like we should. You have to really look at ingredients and where they're coming from. But then it's another thing when you don't bring those, when you don't cook at home, and now you are relying on a lot of these places to
Right.
provide the nutrients that you need out of food. So we're going to talk about spices, different things to incorporate into your food to give you a healthier lifestyle, right? It's not all about,
Right.
when in culinary school, it was about salt and pepper. Girl, I kid you not. And they love some white pepper. It was salt and pepper.
Salt
I
and
mean,
pepper on
they did, this is what they call French cooking. No, there are other things we can use other than salt.
Right.
So, we're going to have some fun talking about food. And between food, comedy, good food, and comedy, those two things, and family, there's
Right.
nothing else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it crosses barriers. Food crosses barriers. Comedy crosses barriers. There's no, you know what I mean? You can't be boxed in when you're talking about food.
Right.
When you're talking
Right.
about healthy eating, when you're talking about fasting. So, speaking of fasting, that's the food for the thought. So let's get it together, okay? The whole idea of let's get it together is that we're going to do some movement. It's a verb, right?
Right.
It's also a noun.
Right.
So it means we need to be doing things. We need to elevate. People want to know how to process this life we're in right now. That's what we bring,
Absolutely.
right? We're gonna introduce you to some new, not necessarily new, but to more healthy alternatives for your mind, your body, and your soul. Everybody's talking about elevation now.
Right.
Everybody's talking about
Right,
enlightenment.
right.
Everybody's talking about trying to find financial and wealth and secure
Right.
your spot. But we gotta make it to that place.
Right.
How do you get there? It's easy to tell somebody there. Well, it really is brick upon brick.
Yep.
It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Right? That's what we're going to talk about. We're going
Right.
to talk about how to elevate, how to get to that place, because there's rules to the game. Hint, the name of my book.
Here she go.
It's rules to the game. There's rules to this thing, right? So we're going to talk a little bit right now about fasting.
Yes.
And I want to know what that means to you, because I know what it means to me spiritually. I know growing up in church what fasting means. I know people take seasonal, Ramadan, things like that, where they fast.
Right.
But let's talk about what it means spiritually and physically in one of the first steps in getting your life together.
I know for me, there are points where I intentionally fast, and there are points where I notice that my day just gets away from me and I haven't eaten, and then I may sit back and be like, wow, I haven't eaten, and then I'll change the intent at that point when I realize that I haven't eaten for the day and say, okay, well, I'm going to say a prayer before I eat my first meal of the day so I can reel myself back in and ground myself, because normally if I've let the day get away from me and I haven't eaten just because I forgot, that usually means I'm stressed. That means I'm doing a lot of stuff. That means I'm going here and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I just forgot to eat. But eventually when I calm down some, I'll realize I haven't, or I'll start to feel maybe like, girl, why is your energy level so low? So then I'll reel it in and I'll be like, oh, okay, I haven't eaten. So then I change the intent at that point. So what I'll do is I'll use it to ground myself. So
Ikari says, I'm definitely eating breakfast and lunch. Dinner, I can snack or eat fruit. So the thing about fasting is, first of all, it needs to be a lifestyle. But Jesse just hit on something that is key to where do I start? You know what I'm saying? Because fasting isn't for everyone. If you have health conditions, if you have, if you've never fasted before, if you are used to eating breakfast, lunch, and possibly dinner, then you take baby steps. And so one of the things you touched on was, okay, I just had a stressful day, a busy day, and I haven't eaten. The moment you recognize that you have not eaten for the day, or you skipped breakfast because you had a long meeting, or you had some appointments, or maybe you even had to fast for some blood work, because they want you to fast for blood work, certain type of blood work.
Right.
So at the moment you realize that you have not eaten, that's your transition and your signal to yourself to change that thing into, let me focus on quieting myself.
Right.
Because think about it when you're hungry. When you're hungry, somebody just said that they have to have breakfast. That was me. But later on in life, things shifted, and breakfast wasn't as important. So you have to know your body, and you have to know when things transition. There's different transitions. So the moment you realize you have not eaten, turn that thing around to control your stomach. Because let me tell you something about discipline. Discipline
Right.
is telling your mind is the
Right.
strongest muscle on your body.
Right.
And it needs exercise. It controls every other function, or all the functions of your body, right? So if you let your mind tell your stomach you're not as hungry as you think you are, and you will eat when I tell you to eat, it's discipline. It's discipline.
Right.
And with discipline, you calm yourself. It helps to calm anxiety, and that's
Right.
a fact.
Right.
When you stop eating and for a moment, not talking about, dieting, that's something totally different. We're
Right.
not talking about nutrients.
Right.
We're talking about spiritual. There's something that's eating at you. Step away from the table.
Right. I agree with that.
Step away from the table. And if you can't miss breakfast, have your breakfast, because fasting includes sleeping time. So don't eat 2 to
Right.
3 hours before you go to sleep. And now you've accomplished 8 to 10 hours of fasting. That's why they call it breakfast, because you break
Yes.
the fast when you eat.
Right.
So, where it says fasting clears out the gut, absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
It
And so
sure
people
does.
wonder why they're so anxious. Well, we let our stomachs control us.
Right. That should not be happening. We are our minds and our spirit are the ones that should be in control of our bodies.
That's right.
That's where the control should start, and the body should follow.
That's that food for thought. That's that elevation. When you want to hear from God,
Yes.
when you want to calm your storm, back away from the table. Just skip a meal. Skip McDonald's. Skip the fast food. It starts with small steps. Skip the sugar. Skip the soda. Make a conscious sacrifice of caring for yourself. Because in order for you to receive, sometimes you need to be on empty. Because
Right.
that's that time you rely on God. That's the time you rely on, I need help to get through this fast.
Right.
So for me, fasting not just clears out my mind. It not just clears out that anxiousness that we tend to have about things we can't control.
Right.
When I fast, I purpose to accomplish something because I want to hear. I want to hear what the spirit can't hear when it's full of noise.
Right.
And I'm telling you, eating is the primary focus of most of our lives.
Right.
You have to eat to live.
You do.
And then you have to, you get to a point where then you have to start cutting things out and
Right.
looking at the functionality of your body and what you're putting in it.
Yeah, and the food, and if it's nurturing your body, if it's actually nurturing your body, because you realize most of our grocery stores are filled with stuff that has no nutritional value. at all, and will not give you the energy that you need. Because if I don't know if anybody has ever eaten before and then you want to go to sleep and you have no energy. That's not what food is really supposed to do.
No, it's not.
You understand that? You know, because we all want to eat a good meal and be like, oh, I'm going to bed, I'm done. Them ribs got you wanting to crawl under them covers.
And
That's
you know,
not supposed to happen like that.
no, it's not. Because what I've heard is you're actually putting yourself in diabetic mode when
Right.
you overeat.
Right.
So that's what makes you want to go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
because you've now sent your blood sugar up, because you've eaten all of these different items that are affecting blood pressure and blood flow and,
Yeah.
you know, nutrients to the body, and now you're sleepy. Right. Mom said I'll drink water when I'm not eating.
That's a good look. That water will definitely help curb your appetite, and it won't put your body, your stomach into overdrive either, and it still allows you to function because you're hydrated, so
Right.
you can function. And really, in all honesty, I've seen some people, I follow some people here and there, and there are people that have been able to function completely off of liquid, that have been able to function off of, one meal a day, which actually that is what we're supposed to do. We're
What's
only
the
actually
longest you
supposed-
fast?
The longest?
Because our churches used to call for fast, honey.
Yeah, they
They
did.
did.
I think the longest I tried to fast was, I think, a week, but that was hard work. And it was there's different type of fastings too, you know what I mean? So I actually not too long ago told myself I'm gonna fast, and my fast was I would only eat one meal a day. I would wait till noon. And to break my fast, I would read this chapter in a book. I had a book that I followed. I read a chapter in the book, and then I would say a prayer, and I would go sit out under the sun, say a prayer, and break my fast, and then have my one meal of the day. And then that was it. I wouldn't eat after sundown.
And what's your objective? Because for me, fasting is purposeful.
Right. And my purpose at that time is I really needed to understand what direction I needed to go in my life at the time. I needed to understand pretty much if I needed to go left or right. And I needed to hear from Spirit, because, me going and having a meal and falling asleep and being comatose wasn't helping me. So I had to discipline myself, and so I could hear from Spirit, so it could tell me, this is what I want you to do, and this is what you should be doing. And interestingly enough, the message that I was delivered, nobody agrees with me, but I'm okay with that. But I'm okay that nobody
personal,
agrees,
honey. It's
'cause
personal.
It's personal, and it's what Spirit told me I needed to do. And I've gotten confirmation that people may not necessarily agree with it, but that happens to everybody. Didn't it happen to Jesus? Some people didn't agree with him, but he still did what he had to do, right? So that was my experience with fasting, and that wasn't too long ago. What about you?
I fast every day.
Look at you. That's why she's so discerning.
I
And so
fast
spiritually inclined.
every day. And my purpose now for fasting, it started off stressed. So I had years of trying to figure out how to calm the nervousness and anxiousness of things I could not control. Things that, life happening, just things that happen. And so my vice is to not eat. So you would know I was stressed because I wasn't eating. Some
True.
people have the reverse. Some
True.
people, they find the solace in food.
Yeah.
So for me, I did that thing that I'm explaining to you guys. I flipped it. So when I was going to culinary school, I was completely turned off from food for a while because we learned some of the origin of food. We started learning some of the food prep. We started learning about all the different diseases that are born out of mishandling of food.
Right.
And so I stayed sickened by food. It had to be something that I specifically wanted, and it had to be something that I specifically prepared. Or it had to be fine dining, 5-star Michelin restaurant that's going to serve me, you know what I'm saying, on a platter. And so I couldn't find a healthy balance, and I found myself losing weight. That's the first telltale sign of my stress. So I turned that thing around, and I said, oh no, my stomach does not control my happiness or whether or not I can get out of a situation. No. So I said, my mind is stronger. What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? I had to ask myself a series of questions. But then I also had to start looking at the fact that you have to know your body.
Right.
So for a long time, I didn't need a lot. I didn't think I needed a lot of water. Water would actually make me feel imbalanced. So you have to know your body. It started letting me know my body. Because I tell you what, if I'm served food that's not hot and fresh, my stomach will immediately let me know I'm going to the bathroom. On site. I'm like, how did it get there that fast? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did it even process that fast? But I'm telling you, my system is clean enough, I believe, that the process, I process it really fast. There's probably metabolism and some other factors involved. But I fast every day.
Really?
I either purposefully skip breakfast, and I may have coffee. So it may not be a traditional fast, or you know what one might call nothing at all, and maybe some water with some lemon. But it is purposed.
So when you do that, do you do something kind of ritualistic to break the fast, or do you just kind of carry on and then decide when you're going to eat, or do you do something specific to kind of say, okay, this was my intent, now I'm going to
Mission
break this
accomplished.
fast? Right.
Sometimes, most of the time, it's just now I walk in it. The one thing that's crucial about fasting and breaking the fast is ease into it. So if I haven't eaten all day, it would not behoove my stomach to go run out and grab a burger and some French fries, some greasy food.
Right.
Now, if I've been drinking, then I might want some greasy food because I want to absorb the alcohol, right? So, but you want to ease from a fast. You want to ease in. So you might go get you some soup. You might go get you some salad. You might go get, you might prepare something at home very lightly. Maybe if you are a breakfast person like Icarice, because I'm a breakfast person. That's why I love
Brunch.
Stop it.
Brunch. I thought it was the mimosas, girl. I thought it was that champagne.
It's the mimosas. They got me. But if you notice, the restaurants have made a shift. A lot of these restaurants, some of the really good restaurants, are now serving brunch, and they'll serve breakfast, brunch, and lunch, and they're closing at 3:00. It's a trend.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was looking at the trend of brunch, and it's us, it's sisters. We love a brunch, honey.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We can get out early in it, get drunk early in the day, and go home and still be fully functional that night and get up and go to work the next day.
It's a woman thing. It really is. I know the guys probably like a good brunch because it's midday. It's usually
With a woman.
Yeah, right. Right.
I'm kidding.
But it really is the girls, and it's a lot of the sister girls that really enjoy. Everybody enjoys a good brunch, but it has really trended to go get a mimosa and breakfast at 3:00. That's a great thing.
Right. Get drunk
Especially
in the middle
for
of the day.
For the breakfast lovers. So Wes is asking what are our social media handles. So I am J9 Comedy, J9 Roberts on Facebook, And let me slide in there. We are also looking for sponsorship, right? We're looking for sponsorship. We have some slots available that will fit any budget.
Right.
And
We will
so,
shout you out. I am primarily on Instagram at Jezzy, oh my, or Jezzy333. You will find me on Instagram, and on Facebook, I am my government name, Jeziree Osborne. That is Jesiree Osborne.
government name.
Osborne. Yes, I am. That is my government name.
So, one of the things that really impacted me when it came to food was my grandparents are from Louisiana, and we have a lot of family in New Orleans. We have a lot of family in Shreveport, and so direct descendants of Louisiana. My grandparents came to Oakland, California, and my grandfather had the wisdom to have a garden. So I was blessed with immediate instruction on how to plant a garden. And so we had greens and peppers and all kind of fresh tomatoes, corn from my grandfather's garden. So talk about inspiring me to want to cook and share my food with people. So that was really the concept behind going to culinary school, was to fine-tune skills that people don't even think about. I mean, who thinks about how to hold a knife?
And thanks to you, I have learned a lot of sanitation tips from you going to culinary school and learning some things and sharing the knowledge with me. And so now I'm cognizant of that stuff when I go out, or when I cook my own food, how it should be handled. My mother also is a great influence on me in that regard as well. So yeah, she was the same. She grew greens, and she was forever cooking up
And it was a
something that
trip
she was
because
picking up out of the yard.
the greens would be this big. Like the greens would be so big that my grandmother would have to use, what was the key she would use? Because they were thick and they were just really big. Like one green bunch could feed a whole family by the time you broke them down. Baking soda. She would put a teaspoon of baking soda and it would break them greens right on down. My grandmother cooked every day. She was blessed to be at home. So she cooked every day for my grandfather.
We need that.
The
We
traditional
need that.
stuff.
We need the traditional. We need the home cooks, actually, more than anything. We eat out a lot, but we eat at home a lot too. Absolutely.
Now my ideal is comedy and food. So I'm going to bring that back around real quick, because being a stand-up comic and watching people enjoy the laughter, and then watching people enjoy food is a double whammy for me. That's just like, that it's everything. It really is, because the laughter's good for the soul.
Right.
And then the food, good food is good for your soul. It really is. It makes you feel good. It makes you, I think it's sending some kind of endorphins to your brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. My mama's greens do that to me every time.
Oh, they don't clean you out.
That too, and I actually appreciate the clean out. Don't get it twisted. I appreciate that, but
and that's the kind of stuff we're gonna talk about.
Lord.
Leafy greens do so much value for your body. 2 nights ago, I made greens. I didn't make any meat. I made greens and cornbread. Greens and cornbread.
That's a meal.
Right.
It's a meal.
Throw in some legumes or some beans so that you can get your protein. We're going to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about meals you can make at home that are hearty for the family, 30 minutes or less. Honey, I can whip up a meatloaf and some mashed potatoes with a salad on the side before you can blink. So we're going to talk about recipes and quick things that you can do at home, because right now we're in a time that we really need to be preparing our food at home.
True.
And when you go out to eat, you're going to be able to rely on these sources to tell you some good places to go where they are sanitary, where there's consistent customer service, where there is consistent quality of food. We're going to talk about environment. We're going to talk about, we're just going to bring you fresh and unadulterated information. And it's going to be about eating and speaking of eating. Also, this is Restaurant Week. So we're going to talk about different things that come to town. We want to talk about some of the local stuff that happens. The farmers markets where you can go and get fresh fruit and fresh veggies and locally grown honey that might help you with your allergies. That kind of stuff. We're going to dive into it because really, let's get it together. That's what this is about. It's about getting our lifestyle together spiritually, mentally, and physically through food for the thought and food for the body. That's the concept.
I'm with it.
That really is the concept.
That's
And then, I'm going to throw a little humor in there because that's really what I do. We're going to be looking for comics to come in and speak. We're going to be looking for chefs to come in and speak, experts to come in and speak. If you have something that you want to share with the community and it is along the lines of the elevation and enlightenment that we're looking for, then come join the show.
Yes, ma'am.
Then come join the show. So, that's a little bit of who we are. But back to this Restaurant Week. So Restaurant Week, it runs from June 6th to June 17th. I participated one year. And what it is 5-star Michelin awarded restaurants offer 3 to 5 course meals at a fixed cost.
Oh.
So
Alright.
you could go to Restaurant Week, I believe the website, and you can actually purchase, you can see all the participants, and you can actually purchase a meal or make your reservation, and then you go in and you eat the 5 courses or the 3 courses of that 5-star restaurant. And you're also supporting, it's a nonprofit that you're supporting. It's one of the
A charity.
Yeah, so
Okay.
definitely something to look into. We're going to be talking about different things that come into town that are surrounding food, that surrounding comedy, and put you up on game. That's what this is. Let's get it together.
I'm a little interested in knowing about that Restaurant Week. So,
Yeah.
is it a list or is it a website that
It's
we can go to?
Yeah, it's the
to
website.
Make reservations?
I think you can just Google Restaurant Week, Las Vegas, and then that'll take you to the website, and it'll list all the participants. And, I like a food truck, honey. I like a food truck. There is also a Southwest Vegan Food Tour that goes down. So we're going to be sharing with you a lot of that stuff. This is going to be a show that you've never seen before or heard before on the hottest station in the land.
Right.
Hot 702 FM. Okay? So I'm really glad that you guys joined us today.
I am
It's
very
J9
glad, very, very glad to see all
and
the
Jazzy.
beautiful people.
And I had a great time. I'm really looking forward to giving you guys some good information. I'm telling you, ain't going to be nothing like it. You will thoroughly enjoy the shows with us every Thursday at 6 p.m. on the hottest station.
Yep.
Say it one more time. Hot 702.5 FM.
Yes,
And it is
yes.
Let's Get It Together, and we are signing out.
Peace, love, light, prosperity, and protection to you all.
I receive it.